This is Shadow. Look at the camera. Shadow. She doesn't want to be up here right now. Shadow, say hi. Can you say hi? Look. Okay, go on. Oh, Lord. What's up, everybody? Joe White here. Reminding you once again that my podcast is coming. 3-part update today. Give me one moment here. I'm just doing this on the fly. I got my door open. The cat's running around here. She's pissed. I don't know why. 1640 PWPR. Again, 1640 PWPR. Facebook.com 1640 PWPR. It's where you can find all the shows there on the Pro Wrestling Podcast Radio Network. The Joe White Show, New Search Live, whatever we're calling it. Not sure whether to bring it back as New Search Live or whether or not we're going to bring it back as the Joe White Show. Not a lot of people who know my mouth is falling down the stairs. I just got off work. Not a lot of people know who Joe White is. It's me. Anyway, here. The Ken Reedy Show is just posted there. 1640 PWPR. Right there. And Ken Reedy is a pretty good show. Talks about pro wrestling. Has a call-in number. He does a show on Blog Talk, and then we put it up on PWPR. Or Pat puts it up on PWPR there. I want to take some time tonight to talk a little bit about WrestleMania and what's been happening since then. Specifically, with regards to the WWE roster, NXT, and such. I do know that a lot of people are excited / scared about NXT and the future of that brand and the future of the superstars or wrestlers in that brand. The reason why I'm scared / excited is I'm excited that these guys are getting called up. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited that these guys are getting the chance to show their craft to more than just the NXT world and the NXT fans, because I believe that NXT is a niche group. It's kind of like what ECW was back in the day. It scares me because at the same time, these people like Neville, people like The Ascension, people like Sami Zayn, people who are going to be like, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens even. It as long as you got Vince McMahon calling the shots, and yes, it's the writers, but the writers don't write to produce good television. The writers write to please Vince. The writers write to hear him say, yes, I like that. Here's a raise, pal. They don't care what, they care what the ratings are, or Vince cares what the ratings are. But, sorry, that was me scooting over here, but their job is to keep McMahon happy. Anytime you work, your job is to keep your boss happy. Never mind your customers. I mean, the customer's king, don't get me wrong. And we're all customers. We're all fans. Without us, there is no WWE. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be people like me who will watch wrestling as long as wrestling is in the title. Which explains Jeff Jarrett's shows that he's running at the Diamond in Richmond with all these minor league ballparks. But that's going to be discussed on a future episode of New Search Live or the Joe White Show, whatever I'm calling it this week. 1640 PWPR. Anyway. But my main thing is that we saw with the Ascension, they got brung up and immediately they should wear face paint. They should wear shoulder pads, pal. This is the new Road Warriors. This is the new Legion of Doom, pal. No. They were the Ascension. That crowd, kind of knew who they were. For crying out loud, you're getting NXT chants every time one of these guys show up now. And now, granted, it was the first couple of weeks after Mania, so you still had that smart mark crowd, but now you're still getting them, and it's kind of hard to say how much of that audience is starting to seep through. And that's one thing that I've been noticing about pro wrestling. And I think the first episode of the New Surge Live podcast is going to be about the winds of change as far as pro wrestling has been within the last 5 to 10 years. We've started seeing a dramatical change in the fan base. Yes, it's the PG era, but more and more of the quote-unquote, what was happening around 96, 97, the quote-unquote new generation is starting to seep through. And you can find that's coming up soon on the on the podcast there. And it's my take on things, and I'm going to have to sit down and write it out so I can have it prepared bullet point by bullet point for you so that I can make, a valid argument. And I encourage you all to watch this video or comment on the video. I'm going to be putting the podcast audio up on my YouTube channel. Click down here, click that like button. Anyway, it's not just a bunch of 5-year-olds going, "Yay, John Cena, yay!" And it's not just a bunch of women yelling at John Cena to whip his dick out anymore. You got these fans like me, and like so many others out there. I used to tell people that all these indie wrestlers out there who go, "Man, fuck the WWE, you need to come to our show. That's just shitty TV wrestling. You need to watch us. We're real, man. We're hardcore." I used to sit there and tell these people, yeah, you say that, and it's still true to a certain extent. Because let's not forget, you're going to make more money. From a money standpoint, this is still true. If those wrestlers who say they were offered a contract by WWE, if it was ideal for them to go there, which 90% of them it is, they would go there, regardless of what crappy gimmick they were given. Now, you could sit there and argue with Jay and Mark Briscoe were just offered contracts to NXT and they turned it down to go to Ring of Honor. Well, there are circumstances besides that every businessman has to take into account. Jay and Mark Briscoe have a successful chicken farm. Yes, they do. They have a successful landscaping business. They each have families. They don't wrestle full time. They have other means of making money that are very, very lucrative to them. So when you go to WWE, they had to take that into account. And they chose to work once or twice a month, or maybe 4 times a month every weekend, as opposed to taking a business and a clientele that they've earned and squandering it away for an NXT contract. And let's face it, not everybody's cut out for it. And everybody knows that they're not cut out for it. Would Jay and Mark Briscoe be happy to see them in WWE? Hell yeah. Would they be used as Jay and Mark Briscoe man up? Dim boys with the fake teeth, I'm a northern redneck? No. WWE would give them a stupid gimmick, I could see them, I could see it now. Vince would turn them into the Dudleys in a heartbeat. Not that the Dudleys weren't a bad team, they're probably the best tag team of all time, but Jay and Mark Briscoe should not be treated like that. Anyway, then you take a guy like Kevin Owens who does this for a living, probably has no outside business, whose sole purpose outside of this, when he was even before, like you take your typical indie wrestler. I'm going to use this as an example, and I like his work. I saw him this past weekend. The Bravado Brothers. I'll take the Bravado Brothers. Yes, sometimes they wrestle for Ring of Honor, but and I don't know what side businesses they do during the week, but let's say, I won't use the Bravados. I'll use this random wrestler who makes his living weekend to weekend and is good enough and is known enough to make it from weekend to weekend doing this for a living. His bookings are his paycheck. His gimmick table is his paycheck. So when the WWE comes calling and you can go from making $500 a week to maybe $1,000 a week, you're going to take it. Now, in this day and age, I don't know of a wrestler, unless you're AJ Styles, that can do that. AJ Styles is actually a prime example, but then again, he makes more money in Japan than he ever would in the US. But I digress. You guys know what I mean. You have to think, they would go there. But nowadays, it's kind of like, do you really want to go to the WWE and sell your soul? Knowing that, I bet you half those guys that are in NXT right now are begging not to get called up. And if they do get called up, they're going to, heaven forbid, they're like an Adam Rose who becomes a comedy geek and just, it baffles my mind how, and the majority of it is Triple H. And the majority, Triple H has, I can only wonder what's going through Triple H's mind when he talks to these guys. Yeah, we're going to get you called up. You're doing a really good job. You got a good gimmick. You're working it good. And then once Vince takes over and once Vince has his final say, it's ruined. The Ascension, prime example. Putting a cape around Neville, even though it's kind of badass. They wanted to make him Mighty Mouse, guys. Mighty Mouse. Adrian fucking Neville is Mighty Mouse. It just proves my point that you got crazy, Dave Scher of PW Insider likes to call him Crazy Grandpa, and I totally agree. You got Crazy Grandpa up there. He's like these people I get in from work, get at work, when on my tech job. I compare it to the old blue hair whose grandkids buy them an iPad for Christmas and they have no idea how to fucking use it. So what do? They end up calling me, and my ass has to sit there and baby step them through on how to use it. The only problem is Vince is surrounded by so many yes men that he has nobody to baby step him on how to properly use somebody in 2015. I submitted a question to PW Insider and asked Mike Johnson and Mike Johnson's opinion of it, and I didn't get a chance to hear it, but I'm going to, when Vince does kick the bucket, are we going to see the same from Stephanie? Because at the end of the day, Stephanie and Linda, if she's not dead by then, get the reins. Linda doesn't know how to book. To my knowledge, Linda's never been on the creative team. Linda wouldn't know how to book a match if I could be wrong. Vince could be teaching her a little bit. She could be watching and learning, and I hope she is. And I hope that when time comes, she takes over nicely, if that's the case. But is Stephanie going to follow in her father's footsteps? Because Triple H ain't going to be running that company. Triple H ain't going to be COO. Triple H ain't going to have any, He'll be head of creative probably, but he'll still have to answer to his wife. Or he'll still have to answer to Linda. And if Stephanie's like her father, we are fucked. This business is fucked. You got TNA down there, and I'll have a whole video on TNA probably tomorrow. I haven't really seen their product at all in the last 5 years, and there's a good reason for that. I read up on it. I know who's there and who's not there. But let's just say the rats are starting to get off the ship again. Taz. He could say, it wasn't, and more power to him. Hey, they didn't pay you. You're not sure if you want to be there anymore because you got radio opportunities opening up. So you decide to jump ship to a business that's monetary. That's why, I was talking with King Firehawk, Pat, who, 1640 PWPR. When he approached me with this podcast and I talked to him today, the very first thing I said was, I'm kind of iffy on doing one because the market is so flooded. 10 years ago when I first started New Surge Live, back then it was called From Pillar to Post, you had to have, this is back before everybody was doing a podcast. The word podcast wasn't even hardly invented. iTunes was just starting. I was well, I was a member of barbedwire-press.com. I had, you know, I was hanging around the likes of the no DQ crowd, which that site's gotten a little bit better, but anyway, I digress. And now it's come today where anybody and their mother with one of these and one of those can start a podcast or a video stream. Look at Twitch, what they've done for the world of gaming. I'm hoping to have somebody from that world come on the podcast here pretty soon from the world of gaming. But anyway, and it's just like the market is so flooded right now. And getting back to what I was talking about before, if you're in NXT right now, you're begging not to be called up. Yeah, the money's going to be better, but creatively, not so much. And all I could say about that company is, one word, Eugene. The man's now pigeonholed as a wrestling retard. The gimmick worked for a little while. But as Jim Cornette once said, how can you book that guy in somewhere like Ring of Honor after what the WWE has done to him? If they put Sami Zayn in a monkey suit as a gimmick, what the fuck are we going to do? How can you take that seriously? It's going to ruin him. Daniel Bryan is a different story because they didn't want Daniel Bryan there to begin with. They signed him because of the fact that, okay, we saw a little bit of a talent in him and maybe we could do something with him, but he wasn't supposed to be world champion. He never was supposed to be world champion until this crowd started hijacking shows, which I think we need more of. But anyway, I'm going to get off here for the night, folks. No, it's not beer. This is being brought to you by Bubba Cola, the red version. This is supposed to be Save-A-Lot's version of Coke. They also have one in a blue can that's Pepsi. But anyway, 1640 PWPR, Pro Wrestling Podcast Radio. Also, we do other things as well. Look for us there, facebook.com/PWPR. I'll have the links to everything at the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts on this subject about these NXT guys. Are you nervous? Are you worried? Are you excited? Or are you like me and a little bit of both, but leaning more toward the nervous side? Let's just hope they don't, let's just hope they don't bring up Sami Zayn and make him more like Dalton Castle. Which, don't get me wrong, Dalton Castle is awesome. I love his gimmick in the Ring of Honor. But, Tyler Breeze, for instance, that's the kind of gimmick that I could see Vince McMahon leaving alone and probably making it a little bit, tweaking it. But somebody like Sami Zayn, who's in ring work, does the word for them or speaks for them. Kind of iffy about that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get off here for the night. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for following me throughout the day. Thank you, King Firehawk over there. 1640 PWPR. I'm going to have all the links at the end of this, guys, and we will see you tomorrow.